What's happening, guys? I got another Trainz video today because I thought, why not? I was already fiddling with it, so I figured I'd do a video on one of my other real favorite routes for Trainz. This is one I get a lot of use out of for various reasons, but this is the Wanamaker, Kempton, and Southern. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I don't know how you pronounce that, so that's how I'm pronouncing it. And for the rest of this video, we're just going to call it the WK&S, so we don't have to pronounce it anymore. But this is the WK&S Scenic Railroad in southeastern Pennsylvania. Actually, not too far away from me. But a little short scenic railroad on, I believe it was an older Reading branch line that got a little landlocked, but it's about a 7.5 mile line. Story goes it was supposed to be longer than that, but something happened. They couldn't extend it any further along what was left of the branch, so it's a little 7.5 mile line a day. And in Trainz, it's really perfect for fiddling around with smaller locomotives. Now, unfortunately, there's very little operationally for you to do outside of pulling some passenger cars back and forth, because this route's modeled as it sits today, as a scenic railroad today. So there's no freight operations whatsoever. It's all passenger, and they're not going to be long passenger trains. This right here, I believe, is about as long as a train ever gets. These little 5-car sets, but I have this scenario set up with, at minimum, stand-ins with what I can gather that the railroad has on their property. So some of this is not exact. It's either A, a close stand-in, or B, just a literal stand-in. Doesn't even have a purpose. So we're also showcasing the K&L pack that goes with this route. K&L Trainz did the WK&S's 65 060 saddle tank switcher, and this was the face of their scenic railroad operations for a hot minute, up until I believe 2020, when the boiler certificate went up on the locomotive, and now it's awaiting funding for a full rebuild and restoration so that it can continue its heritage operations. So I believe today the trains are pulled by a 44-ton diesel switcher, which I have represented here with a 45-ton diesel switcher, a little saddle, or a little side rod switcher, which this locomotive here is pretty much what it is. So I believe operations are done by these today, or this, and I know they have a Whitcomb, an extremely rare center cab Whitcomb, and to my knowledge there is not a center cab Whitcomb, not a 65-ton center cab Whitcomb such as what the WK&S has. So this is a stand-in, but they have one of those. They have a little 040 saddle tank that I don't think they have any plans to restore to operation. It's more of a cosmetic restoration. It just kind of sits back here in the sidings. And they also have a 262 that they do have plans for restorations. I know here we've got an Eagle River Baldwin 262, because again, it makes a good stand-in for the time being. But I know they have a 262 so that, according to Wikipedia, is planned to be restored. I know in a recent video I watched on YouTube of a drone footage, this locomotive is sitting back here in pieces, which I obviously can't model, but that's the power on the property. And then they've got a selection of old Reading and Lackawanna coaches that they use for their heritage operations. Some funkiness going on back here, but there's really not a whole lot to the railroad, but it is set in a very pretty part of Pennsylvania that if you ever get a chance to ever take the trip, I do very highly recommend it. You believe me, you won't hate it. But like I said, it's a pretty short little route here. It's just point A, point B. But don't let the size deceive you. Oftentimes we look at, I know a lot of people, especially coming from the Railworks train simulator, and a lot of people look at short routes like ew, gross. Why is it not 50, 60 miles long? With shorter routes, I find you typically get a lot better attention to detail, a lot finer detail, a lot more interaction for scenes, videos, drive-bys, and such that just you don't get with larger routes. Larger routes, typically, I get it. I've tried to do it myself. Long routes, once you get the track and the basic scenery done, at that point you're probably burned out on working on the route. You don't want to do anything anymore. And a lot of the finer details tend to get overlooked. So this is a very well detailed route, and you will get 3 versions of it from Approach Medium. I know there's the download station version where all the assets are available on the download station, and then there's a Trainz 2019 version, which is the one I'm on now, and then I believe there's a New Era version, a Trainz New Era version, if I'm not mistaken. The big differences between the 3, I really don't know. I personally don't see the big differences, so I typically use the 2019 version, which is what I'm on right now, but all 3 of them give me a handful of missing cuids. Sorry, my English is not working today. Missing cuids that just I haven't been able to find, and I haven't really worried about them because, like I said, I don't notice them. So. But we're set in the hills of Pennsylvania in a mixture of kind of rolling hills and farmland, and you'll go in between forests and farmland. The short trip, and yeah, even back here at the end of the line is modeled pretty decently until you start getting back here. But I mean, there's nothing really overlooked. I mean, yeah, sure, you could come back here and nitpick at like the houses and whatnot, and say, oh, well, there's no cars, there's no people, or whatever. But frankly, you won't be back here. To my knowledge, the railroad doesn't use this portion of the line back here, even though I do, because I like this little scene right here. I think it's gorgeous for little pictures and whatnot. But there was a lot of time taken in this route, especially with like the background scenery, so that whenever you're looking around like I am right now, or sitting from the train, it doesn't look like you look through the trees and there's just drop off. I know some Trainz routes are horrible about that, and I get it's to help with keeping the size down so your computer run it, but this is a short route, so you can get away with adding in background scenery and details so that you really get a nice immersive experience. Now, I have my shadows turned off because of I did a previous video on Strasburg. The Strasburg Railroad just runs laughably better with my shadows turned off, and I just haven't turned them back on. So this route looks stellar with the shadows turned on. I'll get back to turning those on later on, but we're not worried about that. So right now we're sitting at Kempton, which is the main starting point. This is where their operations start. This is where you'll hop on the train and take your trip down. And they have their little locomotive and restoration shed over here, refueling siding. I guess kind of a storage siding. I always used it as a runaround, but storage. I don't know what this is. I don't know what they do with this area right here, but it's there. And yeah, so I believe these are custom assets for this route, custom train stations and such, which for the most part look good. I think my only irk is at a distance, the Kempton sign here looks almost too computerized. It looks almost too much like a computer font, but I'm not nitpicking at that. I really don't care. But overall, it looks really good. I will give warning though, if you want to do different seasons, you will absolutely have to modify the route because it does not do seasons well. And it took me forever to realize this. I had my settings set so that it took the actual date. So I tried to make this video 3-4 times, could not for the life of me figure it out. It was setting the date as November. In November and Trainz registers that as winter, so the roads here would be snow-covered roads, but the trees and such would still be green. So scenery-wise, if you want to do different seasons, you will absolutely have to modify the route a little bit to each scenario. So, such as winter, if you want to do a winter scene, you're gonna have to go through and put snow on the ground. But like I said, it doesn't bother me. I don't do winter very often. Winter in train simulators across the board just never looks right. So I don't really bother with winter as it is. But for those of you that like to have seasons, that's just my warning. You will absolutely have to modify the route to give it a wintry look. So, but this is Kempton. Gorgeous spot, gorgeous area, and again, great attention to detail. There's a lot of just random clutter going on around the locomotive area, which from the photographs it does look like this. Now, I personally have not made it over here. I know I said I highly recommend it, and I do. I highly recommend taking a trip if you can. I recommend any train trip, really. I love, even if you're not a big train person, it's a nice, relaxing thing to do with a girlfriend, wife, family, whatever, just to go sit on a train, take a train trip, take a scenic train trip somewhere. You don't have to drive. You guys can just kind of sit back and relax. But me and my wife have not been able to make this trip yet. It's not in the financial cards right now. Those of you older guys, you know what I'm talking about. Trying to live that life, trying to pay those bills. Sometimes it doesn't lend itself well to being able to go out and about, but I intend to make this trip at some point. But judging by the photographs, the videos and whatnot that I've watched of this, it's pretty true to spec. The Kempton area is pretty cluttered around the locomotive shed, and that's pretty well modeled here. Now, like I said, I had my own version that I modified because this irks me. The PBR textures help greatly with this grass right here. Otherwise, it just looks flat. And then the other issue I have is these stations are not. Actually, I believe Kempton is, but the Wanamaker. Sorry, I don't want to butcher that, but I believe Wanamaker station is not an actual functioning station on the route. So I went in and modified that so that you can actually pick people up and drop them off point A, point B. Gives it a little bit of flavor. But yeah, great looking area. Oogie boogie boogie. Up here to our first road crossing. It's got a little shed here. Looks great. And our signal up here. Now these signals are set. They do work. I don't know if the railroad actually runs multiple trains a day. I only ever see videos of them running one single one. So if you're looking for flavor of running multiple trains at one time, like having an AI running a train, different timetables. I think you'll have to add in some invisible signals to make it work. Otherwise, this will pop down red the second you pass by it, and then your AI will just sit here, and you'll come back and it'll still be sitting there. So, but so our first crossing, leaving, and again, it looks pretty true to spec. It looks great. I believe these are custom. A lot of this is custom assets, and you know, whistle boards and such. But they looks excellent. Our ties thrown off to the side of the rails here. Nice 3D rails. Oh, I love 3D rails. They make life so much better than those flat board textures that some trains are known for. But we follow the river for a few miles, oogie boogie boogie, to our first couple bridges. And again, I love these scenes. I love bridge scenes in general. They just make for a real pretty spot to, you know, take screenshots, do videos, make some background photos. And if you're somebody that likes to, you know, add things in, do little touches here and there to personalize it, these spots are great for like putting some guys down here fishing or whatever. Like, those of you that know me know that I like adding people into Trainz routes. I like to add little character scenes, have some people doing whatever random things here, there, and everywhere. But we leave our farmland, or we leave the wood, the forests, pop out again in some farmland, oogie boogie. We got like an orchard going on over here, nice big farm. Here's another real cool scene, especially if you like to stick a couple old cars or something up here. It makes for a real cool scene as the 65 comes rolling by. You got some old cars, makes it look like a step back in history with the old farmhouse in the background. But again, just really, really well done. Really, really awesome. Outstanding. And railroad crossing again. Our last little bridge just kind of pops out. Nice little spot. Oogie boogie boogie right on down to Wanamaker station. This is our end of line. So the trains will come up to here, stop, people get off, you know, stretch their legs, whatever. While the locomotive runs around the train right here. And it extends out a pretty good ways out here, and if I remember the story correctly, is it was supposed to continue on for a good ways. They intended to go a good ways following the river here. For whatever reason, I believe the farm, the family that owns the farm right here in this area did not want to sell to the railroad, sell to the heritage organization for them to continue building through. And as you can see, they have a house right here. The rails would have had to go right through where that house is. So the rails went this far and they stopped. They can't go any further because, for, you know, whatever personal reasons, the family that owns this property doesn't care to give up that portion of the property for the railroad to continue. Which, yeah, I'm not bashing on them. Everybody's got their own reasons for whatever. Maybe this is their family farm now, and that's their source of income. You know, not gonna bash them for it, but I think this was an old Reading branch, and the organization wanted to just rebuild it all the way to the next town over, and they didn't get the opportunity. So here's the end of track, and it is modeled. It does pop out back here. Now, like I said, you probably won't come back here for any reason, but it is detailed. Time was taken to, you know, put in the little farms and the houses and whatnot back here, so, you know, that's cool. You know, you get all too often the baseboards will go one out from wherever the end of their track is, and they'll call it cool. But that wasn't done here. That extends out to where the end of the track actually is. But like I said, with smaller routes, this is oftentimes really easy to accomplish because, truth be told, you can get your rails laid out nicely and your basic scenery set out pretty quick on short routes, so you can spend a lot of time fine-tuning the individual details to everywhere. But oh yeah, it's a great looking route. Like I don't know what goes on right here at Wanamaker. I just know this is end of the road, stop, run around the train. Again, I had another little scene, a little family here, like they were getting off the train. I love it. But let's pop back up here to our train, because like I said, the K&L guys did a pack to go with this route specifically, with the WK&S number 65. And in the pack, you'll get the 65. You'll get these Reading combine and coaches here, the round top coaches, in two-tone green and solid green, that dark color green. You'll get these Lackawanna Boonton coaches, sure. Their open air gondola that they use, and a Reading caboose. This is typically what makes up their passenger trains during the normal seasons. It'll be some combo of this right here. So this set right here is what is included with the K&L package, and it is awesome. I love it. Will you use it outside of this route? Maybe. Especially if you're a reskinner, this locomotive probably will do you a lot of good in plenty of other routes. Will you get a lot of use out of this specific locomotive outside of this route? Probably not. But I think it's still well worth it, especially for this route. Because, like I said, I come back to this route a lot for, like, yeah, I know I'm a grown man, but like I like to fiddle with Legos. I sit and build a Lego. It's fun to set up a train like it's a daily train here with the 65 and let it go. You know, like I said, I modified the route a little bit so that, you know, it's got whistle marks up here and across all the crossings, so that the whenever you set it up for the AI to run the train, that'll blow the whistle and ring the bell in certain spots and such. So all I have to do is just, you know, pick whatever view or camera view or whatever and just let it go as a background noise and whatnot. So there's that. And then again, like I said, for small locomotives and small operations, this route is awesome for coming back to. So yes, this locomotive is, and this pack is geared absolutely for this route specifically, but I don't think you'll necessarily not get a lot of use out of it. And again, it is a high quality K&L quality. It's a great looking locomotive, great attention to detail. I will say you'll probably want to fiddle with your shader adjustments, because if you just leave them stock Trainz setup, it makes this whole locomotive look overall really dark, and you can barely see anything going on underneath the saddle because of the way the shadows work. So that was the reason I left the shadows turned off again. It's really hard to see the fine details of this locomotive with shadow shading turned on. So great looking locomotive. Let me pull up my overlay here, because there are some of the fine details you can fiddle with. Again, automatic fireman, which is pretty typical with K&L stuff. Headlights, pretty good looking headlight. It is our little headlight glare likes to glare in a weird way, but it is what it is. Turn high beam off. High beam on. You can open the cab doors, coal bunker door, roof vent, rear windows, yeah. So, you know, a lot of little things you can fiddle and piddle with. Let's see. Let's listen to it. Bell. Bell is animated. It is a steam bell, so the bell itself doesn't swing. Just a little, it's just the little ball itself, but pretty good sounding bell. I love the whistle. I love the whistle. And it doesn't have something that a lot of K&L's earlier whistles are known for, with their kind of empty spot in the transition from the beginning of their whistle to the middle loop. They don't have a kind of quiet portion. It's a nicely blended whistle. It sounds great. The chuffs sound awesome. Now, speed limit along the route is going to be 20 mile an hour. Is that prototypical? I have no honest clue myself, but you know, I go with it. 20 mile an hour looks good. Looks like a typical speed for one of these locomotives anyway, so. Again, locomotive sounds awesome overall. Looks awesome. I love the kind of swaying going on, the swaying effects. I know some routes on trains are notorious for just there's absolutely nothing modified in the track scripting, so there's no sway, there's no nothing. So it's kind of nice seeing the little sway, and I do believe, let's see, I do believe we have a passenger view in the gondola. Locomotive does have a custom cab, and the cab is functional if you enjoy that kind of stuff. I don't. I really don't. Not in Trainz. Trainz is too much of a model train simulator for me to really get enjoyment out of cab operations in Trainz. It's just, that is one thing that Railworks does do better, is in cab operations, but it does have a custom cab if that floats your boat. I mean, it's good for you know, just putting your cab view in, you know, sitting here watching from the cab, having a proper cab to look at, hanging out the window. Great looking locomotive, great looking. Let's see. Yeah, we do. You do have a passenger view. Can I move around? No. Let's see. Do we have a passenger view here? Kind of hanging off the side of the car. Hop back here to the gondola. Yeah, standing inside the gondola in the open air gondola view. And back here to the caboose. Oh, I forgot about that. The caboose does have a little air whistle that does sound. So let me hop back up here to the locomotive. Bring it to a stop here. Toot, 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 toot. It's nice. It doesn't come to an immediate stop too. So let's pull this up, reverse. And now hop back to our caboose here. Our caboose does have a brakeman that you can show hanging out of the cab window, or out of the cupola window up here. Take your pick, but maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's not this one. Yeah, I guess I'm crazy. It does have the little air whistle that some cabooses are known to have for reverse operations, but I guess it doesn't work on this one. It's kind of picky. Some, I know with certain locomotives I can get that the caboose will make a little air whistle sound. I guess not with 65 up on the front, but it is what it is. But yeah, the WK&S, great looking route, great looking locomotive pack from K&L. Highly recommend picking them both up. I believe Approach Medium has the WK&S pack on sale for $10. So there's that. I don't remember how much the K&L locomotive pack is for it. I believe it's also $10 or $12, something around that line. So for about $20, you get a really nice route and custom pack to go with it. And you can find some other stuff on the download station to kind of complement the route for more prototypical operations and views, or take your pick, use some small locomotives on it, use it for your own little custom heritage operations. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend picking up. Can't go wrong with it. Like I said, it's just a little short scenic railroad. Lots of fun, lots of character. Yeah, that's about it. That's about all I can say to it. I don't know if I can praise it anymore. I have very little that I can say to it that's negative. There's not much that I dislike about it. I mean, maybe if we want to nitpick, these cars are kind of older looking with the flat rivets. Everybody's got to have something to nitpick. That'll be my nitpick, the flat rivets. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys hope it piqued your interest at a pretty neat little route. So go check it out. Obviously, I put the links in the description for where you can get most of this stuff. So hope you enjoy it, and I will see you next time.